This is the Domestic Draft Podcast. I'm Evan Bierman here with Dan Slowick. It's going to be a great show today. We're going to be talking some Cubs with our special guest, but start it off with the beers. Dan, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a brewery out here, a pretty highly thought of brewery. It's called Society Brewing Company, SOCIET Society. The beer is Wave of the Future. It's a West Coast IPA, 7.2% alcohol by volume. It got a 3.9, I believe, on Untapped. And brief little background about Society. It was founded in 2012 by some buddies from the University of Arizona, Doug and Travis, the owner and brewmaster, and they both met while working at the brewery. So they both met while working in the industry. Has a lot of breweries kind of origin stories go. But they, again, started in 2012 and they've been honored like numerous times. I know, like I was reading an article, I think it was like a Men's Health article of like the best IPAs you can drink, and their pupil was on it. And I think I did it in a previous review as well, the Society pupil. But they've been gold medals at the 2018 World Beer Cup, 2018 Great American Beer Festival as well. So they got the hardware, they come highly like recommend it. This Wave of the Future, it's a cool design, cool can, it's good beer. Not as hoppy forward as a regular West Coast IPA. I feel like it's a little more laid back and highlights the citrus, but that's it, man. It's just a good beer. That's kind of what they do. They just, no frills, no crazy recipes. They just produce good beer. What about you? What are you drinking?
Solid. All right. So I got the Ale Man Brewing Company is the brewery, and it's in Chicago. 4 home brewing friends, Nate, Josh, Jim, and Brad, brewed a coffee IPA they dubbed Dayman after the hit show It's Always Sunny.
Nice.
Won a beer competition that was judged by the owners of notable breweries, Stone Brewing and Two Brothers Brewing, and beer author Randy Mosher, who actually owns, I believe, part of Five Rabbit and Forbidden Root in the city. And the rest is history. They're also known for their handcrafted tap handles. So go check out Ale Man Brewing Company. They were established in 2013, contract brewed, and now they open their own brewery on the northwest side, straight west of Wrigley, down Addison. The beer I have here is called Soul Man. It's a salted caramel brown ale. It's 7.2%, 3.66 on Untapped. It's pretty rich, malty, and you get a little bit of caramel on the back end. But speaking of Wrigley, let's bring on our next guest to talk some Cubs with us. It's been a bit since we've been able to talk about the Cubs, so I'm excited to have Dom Frederic on with us. He's the director of morale for the Chicago Cubs. Dom, thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely good to talk baseball, considering we're struggling to find any news recently. But yeah, I'm more than happy to talk, and thanks again for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just want to start. I probably came across your profile, your Twitter profile, probably around maybe 2014, I want to say, during the Cubs kind of rejuvenation process and then winning that World Series in 2016.
Yeah.
I'm curious how this all started, man. Like, how did the following start? Is it mainly Twitter where people are following your stuff, and then to the Morale Supply Company and all that? Tell us the story.
Yeah, really. Mainly Twitter. I mean, I have an Instagram, but I don't really post on it that often. Honestly, it just happened organically. I think everyone kind of has made up their own origin story. I know what I do on Twitter has become a point of contention or a hot button topic amongst Cubs fans, and they always try to make up conspiracy theories about how it started or how I'm a crazy person. But honestly, it's just me. It's just me tweeting about the Cubs and me trying to be funny and me being more of my outgoing and ridiculous self, if you will. I'm a diehard Cubs fan. I've always been a diehard Cubs fan. Chicagoan, love Chicago sports. And, I'm just here to make people laugh, be myself, be ridiculous. I tell people all the time, I'm not on trial. I'm not sitting in front of a grand jury. I'm literally on Twitter just trying to make people laugh and, say some interesting things about the Cubs, but also some things that I'm going to be dead set on, even if I'm wrong, by saying Cubs in 4 all the time. So that's really what it comes down to, honestly. And there's nothing more than that. That's the story. And it just kind of has caught on over the years. And this will be I believe my 9th year tweeting about the Cubs. So hopefully have a season. But yeah, that's really all it is, to be honest.
That's awesome. If there's one thing Cubs fans need, man, it's just a little bit of positivity. And I think your Twitter profile definitely handles that. So how did that lead to the Morale Supply Company? When did that start? And
that started the Morale Supply Co. started probably 6 years into me tweeting about the Cubs. And it happened kind of randomly, meeting up with my t-shirt designer / what I call VP of Morale, Adam. He does a fantastic job. I never really wanted to get into selling anything or selling t-shirts, any merchandise, anything like that. But I found that people were consistently asking about it. So over the years, we will do select drops. We want to try to produce things that are unique and, artwork that people haven't seen before. And I think we do a good job of that. We're going to continue to do it, but it's not a form of us to just always have the store open. It's really like, if we have something we want to sell, we're going to put it up for a couple of days. It's either people are going to like it or they aren't, and they'll, scroll on through Twitter, and that's totally fine. So we're happy with it. And I'm incredibly thankful for the people I work with, Adam, and then the people at Campus Inc. who have managed all the production and all the behind the scenes stuff. So they have done a fabulous job. And I say it all the time, I'm not where I am today without those people. And not only from a Twitter standpoint, but just life standpoint. I mean, they're great friends, and I am incredibly thankful for them.
Yeah, I really like the merch too. Really cool logo, good design. Do you have a favorite shirt that you've made? It's cool that you get like inspired by the moment, right? And then you like make a shirt right after.
Yeah. I mean, some shirts are in the making for a while. It's I think the one that probably is near and dear to my heart, and it's my favorite saying, my favorite catchphrase, whatever you want to call it, is the bad news shirt. It's simple, but I love bad news to death. It was I can't say enough how thankful I am for that family, the first Morale family, and the fact that they were all about it and went with it was fabulous. So even though it isn't our best artwork, it's still my favorite shirt, because there's just something really special about it, and that's always going to be really near and dear to my heart for sure.
So I went to the Morale Supply Co. website actually before we hopped on here just to check it out, and it said the store was closed. So I believe you on that. But what I was able to pick up was some Morale blend coffee from Connect Roasters. If you haven't checked that out, check that out on connectroasters.com. But how did that collaboration come about? And correct me if I'm mistaken, but does Ian Happ own a piece or all of Connect Roasters?
So Ian's a investor in Connect, and he is heavily involved with what they do. If you remember back during the 2020 season, he got Quarantine Coffee going with them. And then, Ian and I got in touch and, have been really friendly over the last, year and a half since I've known him. And I think he's obviously a fan of what we do, and he wanted to get involved with the Morale stuff. And I've always said, like I was saying with the shirts, if we're going to do anything, there has to be some meaning behind it. And with Connect's mission to give back proceeds from all their sales, I was all about it. So it's really a way to help raise money for I always say this wrong. First Tee Greater Chicago, that helps inner city kids, underprivileged kids, anyone within the city, get involved with golf, but really just have like an after school program or a summer program where kids don't have the access to play golf or have the access to any summer or after school program in the city. So we've been doing that it's going to be a year coming up in April, and we're really thankful for it. Done a fabulous job trying to get other people involved, other sports involved. We changed the bag logo for the Bulls because they are saving the city right now. We could go on and on about that. But Ian's been great. Connect has been great. All the people I've worked with over there, First Tee, they've been fabulous. And it's something I'm really proud of. And we've raised over 1,500 hours for kids in the city to, have some type of positive outlet that they can go to, whether it be in the summer or after school. So we're really happy about it, and we're excited to keep it going.
Yeah, that's great. Speaking of working with Ian Happ and being able to collaborate with that and Bad News as well, and the first family there, Any other interactions with players or relationships that have grown from being this kind of figure on social media to where you actually get to start interacting with these guys and seeing kind of who they are? Any stories there?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of guys. There's been some guys who appreciate what I've done. There's been others who aren't as fond of it. You
got a name
listen,
there?
it comes with the territory. I'm incredibly thankful of all the morale athletes, what I call them. The first one was Kyle Schwarber, who was just I'd take a bullet for that guy. Bad news, obviously. And then some of the other Cubs right now, like Adbert, Justin Steele, very thankful to interact, get to know them, hopefully get to know them more. I don't think anything's topped Ian, though. I mean, he's been as supportive as you can be, and has really taken time to get to know me and the people that I work with. And I'm just very thankful, honestly. I mean, I think what I do, I do put my opinions out there. I do tell it like it is at times from my viewpoint. I think there comes some responsibility with that, because obviously these players have insight to what they do on a daily basis, and obviously they know the game really well. So, I mean, there's sometimes players might disagree, but I think for the most part, if they follow me for a consistent basis, and every time I talk to them, I think they know that I'm not to brag, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. And I think there's some respect there. And obviously I know I'm always in their corner. While there's been players like Jason Hayward, who I was the first guy on Twitter really to say that this guy wasn't it. I think they know I'm in their corner, even when it's going bad, even when we just traded the entire team away. And, we got Ortega and fake Frank Schwindel in there. Like, I'm still there rooting for him, and I think they appreciate that. So yeah, I'm very thankful, and hopefully we can continue on growing the morale, or whatever you want to call it. Excited for the next time the Cubs can be really good again.
Absolutely.
Still blood in the water, right? Still blood in the
water. Yeah, I mean, we got to get the season back for there to be blood in the water. There's nothing right now, unfortunately.
So what was that trade deadline like for you? I guess, were you just sitting at your, on your phone like everybody else, refreshing every 5 seconds? I mean, that was just stressful from my point. I don't know.
I mean, talk about hearing it from players. In the meantime, I'm talking to guys who are like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm trying to get insight myself on what was happening in the dugout that day. It was crazy. It was crazy. The Rizzo trade was crazy. But you know what? I think every Cubs fan in reality can look themselves in the face and say they can't be all that surprised with what went down. I mean, it was going to come to an end. I always said, going back to 2013 and 14, listen, when you go all in with a competitive window and you use all your assets for this one team, and you have that end goal of a World Series, but also the end reality that you're going to have to pay all these guys at once. If it doesn't work, then, things are going to happen. Moves are going to be made. And that's exactly what happened. It was tough for sure. I mean, again, these guys, these people, these players, the front office, I mean, I can speak for myself. They definitely changed my life in a sense, because they've given me a platform to talk about them and do different things that I wouldn't have the opportunity to do so. And while it's not all about me, I know the fans can feel the same way from the experience that they've had, whether it be at Wrigley or watching the team, or experiencing a game with one of their family members or loved ones, whoever it may be. So it's like, I think there are so many stories that everyone can relate to, and those don't come by often, right? This is why the Cubs, why it was so big in 2016 to win, because we didn't do it for over a century. And it's amazing. It's incredible. And it's something that I'm never going to forget. It doesn't mean, while some people want to say, well, Dami just wants to, sign all the guys back. He wants to sign Lester and Arrieta back just to, run it back. It's like, that's not necessarily the case, but there's always going to be that nostalgia that I'm not going to lie about. And it was great to see Jake back as a Cub. It would be great to see Chris Bryant back as a Cub, but there's realities to the situation. Anthony Rizzo, the same thing can be said. And I hope we can move on. I hope we can be a better team, but we're never going to forget what happened. And like I've been saying, I'm incredibly thankful for the run that they've given us for the last, whatever it was, 7 years.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I like what you said just there too, of like, I'm not going to be bashful basically of how I feel about re-signing these players. I think that's why you've kind of grown and gotten that following, just being your true self. And where you're like, it kind of happened organically. It's because a lot of people relate to that. And I think they agree with you
Yeah.
on that.
Well, yeah. And
Yeah.
there's also people that think it's a charade and that I'm putting a hoax over everybody. I'm just an optimistic, positive guy. And I've always been that way. And if it rubs people the wrong way, then so be it. But I don't think I'm doing anything wrong tweeting about my love for the Cubs and Chicago sports and being myself. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then two questions, two-parter, same question. You were talking about a 2016 World Series. Curious, where were you at? What was that like? And then also your first Wrigley experience. Like what was that like? Because everyone's got one.
So I mean, 2016, I'm someone who, I mean, if you can't tell already, and I've said this on multiple occasions, I don't go to as many Cubs games as people might think I do, because I am truly locked into this team. Like I watch these games, vividly, and I watch them very, very closely. And that moment, it was in my house with my parents watching the game in our basement, and that's honestly where I was. I didn't go out afterwards. I was live. It's Game 7 of the World Series, and granted, it could be a party, it could be big deal, obviously, when they won, but like that was life or death right there. I mean, if I'm going to be in the spot, I need to focus on every single pitch, every single moment, every single breath, and that's just the way I am. So I honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. It probably would have been great to be in a bar, be around a bunch of people, but for me and the person that I am, like, I just wanted to focus and lock into what was going on. It might not be the most exciting story, but that's the truth. And, thankful for how it ended up. My first experience at Wrigley, I mean, my mom and dad were Cubs fans, and I grew up in the area. I just remember Sammy back in the day. I remember being in the bleachers watching Sammy run out to right field when he'd run up the first base line and make that hard 90-degree turn over into right center, and he's got the finger up and everyone's going crazy. I mean, he's the king. And I know people criticize me for standing by him. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't even think he should be considered one of the best players of all time, but he should be recognized. And he should not be an outcast to this organization, considering what he's done for them. Disrespected. Perfect. Right. That's my memory. Number 21, Kerry Wood, though. I mean, I think many people can say the same thing. That's what I grew up on. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I don't feel ashamed for supporting Sammy. I don't feel like my childhood was taken away from me. He was something that was really special for the game. Something that was in a totally different era of what the sport was. Yeah, sure. Should he be maybe a little bit more honest about what happened? Potentially, but at the same time, he doesn't owe anyone anything. And
him and McGuire grew the sport exponentially with that home run race.
Exactly. He helped change the sport. He helped bring the sport back from the strike. And just for that, I think he should deserve a lot more credit than what he deserves, and obviously get brought back to the federal landmark on occasion. That's all I'm looking for, and I'm always going to stand by that. He's the king. And yes, not my first memory for sure. He's an absolute legend.
Speaking of strikes, what do you think about these negotiations? Do you think spring training is going to start on time? And the second part of this question is, and we won't know this until they're done with negotiations, right? What's the % chance we land Carlos Correa?
First part, I'm not acting as a source. I'm not trying to speak like I have any inside information. I don't think there's any chance spring training starts on time. And I would actually now be surprised if they started the season on time. I think they're that far apart. I think
those meetings are short, man. They're like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you're going to change everything around. And I know for sure the players are adamant about what they want and what they deserve. And the owners clearly won't want to give into that. And I feel like everyone's being a little naive to say like, oh, well, they're not going to lose games. Well, a year ago, they could have played in June. They could have played in July, and they decided not to. They wanted to do a season of August and September, and that was really it. Yeah, you can blame COVID for that, but the reality of it was if they wanted to play, they were going to play. And clearly that didn't happen. It's why we had a 60-game season in 2020, shortened season. So I don't see why anything else would change. This is a cornerstone moment in baseball history, in labor history, for professional sports, really, because I think the players are really trying to change what's going to happen, because they know they got absolutely fleeced in the last CBA bargaining time, and I think they want to change that. And I think players now are as unified as ever, and they are also as knowledgeable as what's been going on within the industry. So I honestly don't see there any chance being spring training to have spring training start on time. But again, I don't want to act like a source or like I have any inside information. That's what I'm going off of from what I've been hearing. The second question, Carlos Correa. I think here's the bottom line. If you're not going to pay Chris Bryant, if you're not going to pay Javi Baez, if you're not going to pay Anthony Rizzo, if you are not going to pay that next great Cub, then who are you going to pay, right? Like who are you going to pay? And if you want to say, all right, well, you know what? We don't have to do it by paying these big contracts. We don't have to do it by making these long-term commitments. The reality of it is there's only been one team in professional sports history that have ever done that and won on a consistent basis, and that's the New England Patriots. And I don't think, Jed Hoyer is Bill Belichick. And we've already seen when you lose your best player, you see what kind of happens. Like, eventually, you're going to have to pay if you want to be with the big dogs. If you want to say, I'm the Chicago Cubs, if you want to say, we're the Chicago Cubs, the Ricketts family, a hallmark, cornerstone organization, you're going to have to pay up. It doesn't matter because that money doesn't go back into the organization. It just goes back into the pockets of the Ricketts family.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
Yep.
So it comes down to, what do the Ricketts family want this team to be? What do they want this organization to stand for? What do they want this franchise to be looked at when you're looking at the entire 30 teams in the baseball landscape? If you want to be, that mid-tier team, St. Louis Cardinals, go for it a little bit at time, that type of team, well, then you're going to be stuck in the NL Central. If you want to be the Dodgers, if you want to be the Yankees, if you want to be these big-time teams that get it done and are consistent on a regular basis and have a shot for a World Series, you're going to have to pay up eventually. And I can't think of a better player to do that than Carlos Correa. I know that teams and fans are timid or anxious about the cheating history. I understand it might not be the best look from a PR standpoint, but you can't tell me there's a better guy that deserves the money. Shortstop, consistent, hits for power, hits for average, doesn't strike out too much. He takes his walks, great glove. I mean, it's all there, and you're going to have to pay for one of these players eventually. It's just the reality of it. The only reason you don't want to is because you don't want to shell out the money. It's not that you think it's a bad deal or you don't want the player. It's that you're being cheap ultimately, and you can't tell me if you're not going to sign Carlos Correa, you're not going to then use that same money to supplement the team in a better way. You're just not, especially where we're at with free agency now. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fast once the season gets going again. So I don't know. It's up to Jed. I'm really happy with what he did with Stroman. I think that was a fantastic move. I think the money on that was fabulous. So we'll see. I think it would be a very smart decision to do so, but I'm not the one giving away $350 million to do that. But
you got any free agents on your radar if that doesn't happen, or anybody you want to see join this team?
Well, I think it's what do you expect the Cubs to be? And I don't mean it to sound like a Carlos Correa end all be all, but if it's not Carlos Correa,
then what are we doing?
So you're probably waiting until next year, right? And Hayward's off the books, not next year, the year after. Is that correct?
I believe it's 2 more years.
Yeah,
I believe so.
This year and the next year, and then he's done. So
yeah, but it's like, what do you? I mean, I love Frank, but it's like, are we expecting Frank to be one of the best players in baseball again? Are we like, what are we doing? So it's like, yeah, I mean, we can go at the fringe guys, but I guess that's really what. It depends on what Jed wants this team to be. Did he sign Marcus Stroman to help the next Cubs team, or did he sign Marcus Stroman to a very team-friendly deal that he thinks he can flip? I hope it's not the latter, but it's not like I can sit here and definitively say that that's not going to be the case. So we'll see. I guess we need to see where everything shakes out once the season actually comes down the pipe. And before I can really figure out like who we can sign or what the CBA is even going to look like. So I don't know. It's weird. And I hate that we're in this space right now because I think baseball is losing a lot of fans, even in this dead period, because obviously there's nothing going on with baseball besides these like
crickets. It's nothing.
Right.
Nothing
it's
at
crickets.
all.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So we got one last question before we get you out of here. It's a would you rather.
Yep.
Cubs win the World Series again this year, but the Bears won't win for another 40, or the Bears win the Super Bowl this coming year, but the Cubs won't win for another 20.
I mean, you know my answer is going to be Cubs, but at the same time, that's a long time for the Bears. It's got to be Cubs. I love the Cubs. I mean, the Bears. We
just seeing how much of a Bears fan you are,
right?
Yeah.
We can go. Yeah. You know what? I think the thing that's crazy is, for as much as Cubs fans get frustrated by the Ricketts family and get frustrated with how they do things, can you imagine having an ownership like the McCaskies run your team? Brother. I mean, I can't even. The fact that Jerry Reinsdorf is looked upon as a saint right now with his Bulls team
with AK,
exactly right. It's incredible. It shows how much leadership matters. But no, I gotta do Cubs, even though I'm a Bears fan. But nothing. I've said it. There's nothing that can top the Cubs for me in this town. They're always going to be my team, and the team I pay attention to the most, just because of how much I love baseball and how much I love that team.
All right, last thing before we get you out of here, I got to ask me. I'm a diehard Bulls fan. When this team's fully healthy, is there blood in the water in the Eastern Conference?
I mean, I think there's blood in the water trying to improve this team. If that's what you're referring to, I think, you know what? Listen, I grew up in the Jordan era. I grew up going into my TV room at 7 p.m., listening to Johnny Red Kerr and listening to
Norm Van Leer on the yep.
Was Larrabee called
Van Leer was the post game. Storm and Norman.
Yeah, and I remember dressing up in my Jordan jersey. I had the Bulls shorts. I had the jumpsuit, and I'd run into my TV room, and I had a basketball hoop in my TV room, and I'd run out there like I was getting called out on the 1998, 1999 Bulls. While I am a Cubs guy, there's just something about that intro that gets me going more than anything else that gets played in the city. And I am ecstatic for what's going on with this Bulls team right now. We need Zach back. It would be great to have Pat Williams back. But if they have everyone back, I don't see why not. DeMar's been incredible. I love the vibe of this team is great. Just the energy around this team, supporting one another, having people's backs, showing up to Champaign for a rookie's jersey retirement, going to the Windy City Bulls and freaking Hoffman Estates is incredible. I mean, the whole thing. I love every single second of it, and can't wait for us to get healthy, to have Caruso back. I'm fired up about it. I grew up on Bulls basketball, and it's great to see them truly back.
Glad to hear it.
All right. Dom, thanks so much for joining us today, man. Really appreciate it. Again, he's Dom Frederic, Dom_Frederic on Twitter, director of morale for the Chicago Cubs. Check out Morale Supply Company when the store is open, and check out Connect Roasters. Pick up some Morale blend. Thanks again, Dom.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Whenever you want me back on, just let me know. I'd be happy to come back and chat again.
Sounds Appreciate good. It, Cubs in 4.
Cubs in 4.
All right. Thanks again to Dom, the director of morale. You can find him on Twitter at DOM_Frederic. Also, you can take a look at his company selling merch. It's the Morale Supply Co. That is at Morale Supply Co. on Twitter as well. A lot of fun talking Cubs. We haven't been able to talk about that team in a long time.
In a bit. Yeah.
Been quiet on that front. And hopefully they could settle something so we could start looking at, I know they just signed a bunch of young international prospects as well. But hopefully, the actual things can get put back in place where we could start seeing free agency and trade possible trades as well. But a lot of fun there.
Yeah, I know they're trying to sell spring training tickets already, but as Dom just said, it's probably not going to start on time. So tough to do that. But it would be nice to get back to spring training. It's been a couple of years for us. We
That's right.
6 years in a row, something like that. 7. I don't know, but
missed the COVID year. But we'll get back to it. All right, let's talk about this past weekend. Wild card. right. Playoff football, first round, get to see a lot of these games. Thought it was going to be much more competitive than it actually ended up being.
Yeah.
My picks from last week, I'm a little proud. That's why I'm just going right into it. 5-1 last week. The only one I got
Pretty damn
wrong.
good.
Yep. The only one I got wrong was the Cardinals Rams, and they got the doors blown off. And I'm just a sucker for Kyler Murray. He was on my fantasy team. So there that is.
Yeah. So no surprises, quite a few blowouts. This is interesting. The number 7 seed, since it came into our lives last year, there have been 4 2-seed, 7-seed matchups. The only one that's been remotely competitive was the 2-seed Bills at the 7-seed Colts last year, and the Bills won 27-24. But if you look at win percentage for all those games throughout the course of those games, only the Colts in that game had greater than a 50% chance at any point in winning, which is, towards the end of that game. So basically, bottom line, these have all been blowouts. The 7-seed thing is not really working. I get it. You want more teams in the playoffs. You want more fans interested at the end of the season. But the bottom line for anyone that does, sports betting, bet the favorites in these games next year with confidence, because it's 2 years in a row. And, these are blowouts. And
because the bottom line's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line,
because
Stone Cold said so. Yeah. But other things to note from these games, you got a lot of head coaches here that are offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators that could potentially be head coaches.
Yep.
Speaking from a Bears perspective, I guess, Dabble, the Bills didn't punt, kick a field goal, take a sack, turn the ball over,
whole
or run
game.
a single play that went for negative yardage. They scored a touchdown on all 7 drives against the Pats, which I thought was a good defense going into this playoffs.
Yeah.
That was going to be the reason why they might stick in that game. Blown out. The Bills looked incredible.
Yep. World beaters.
Yeah. So
no one's stopping them, huh?
Yeah. So Dabble's he's gonna be a head coach next year, I think, without a doubt.
And then how about your guy? I know you're really high in Kellen Moore a couple episodes ago. You're like, why isn't anyone talking about him? Cowboys offense. And then most penalties for a team. Obviously, that's not him, but also they kind of looked a little sus.
Yeah, boy, that last play too, just head scratcher, made no sense.
Oh, scramble up the middle with like 9 seconds left. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he just didn't account for the referee having to touch the ball and set it, and everyone getting set so that they could spike it again. It just made no sense. From where they were, they could have taken possibly 2 shots at the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take a little Shark Tank there for that reason. Colin Moore, I'm out, man. Your first playoff, kind of running the show as OC there, right? Or wasn't it his first, or was he there last? Did they go to the playoffs last year?
He's been with the team for a bit. I'm not sure if they were in the playoffs last year.
Didn't show anything either. Didn't show any ingenuity or able to like game plan halftime with what you're seeing in the first half. So that definitely scares me a lot there.
Yeah. And then kind of along the same lines, Jim Harbaugh, I know there's a lot of talk about him at the beginning of, some of these head coaches getting fired.
Yep.
Haven't seen any interviews for him yet.
I did see he hired a really high-end assistant though at Michigan.
Yeah,
so a lot of people are saying.
Right. So he's making moves at Michigan still, probably going to stay there. Right.
Yeah. The one guy who I'm interested in, I saw for a head coach is Leftwich. Brian Leftwich is going to get the interview here, but also I'm sure every Bears fan knows as well. You saw the information that they're not going to hire a coach until they hire GM. So
that's what they hope for. Yeah.
That.
Right.
Yeah. And we were talking to Robert Mays last week, and it's kind of what he said too.
Right. Right. As they should. I think you want to bring a GM in and let him, kind of have final say there. But all right, let's get into this weekend's games, and we'll get your picks. Like you said, 5-1 last week. Hopefully you're going to get all of them this week, Dan. All right, so the first game is the Bengals at the Titans.
Joe Burrow is a beast. That guy.
I think Derrick Henry's going to be back.
That guy wants to step on. You're gasping for your last breath, and Joe Burrow is stepping on your throat. He does not care. He is cold-blooded. Bengals.
Okay. I think I'm taking the Titans there. 49ers at Packers.
Man. Well, you're going to have the refs on the Packers side. So that's going to be tough. In Lambeau.
Yeah, I think I'd side Aaron Rodgers here. It's not.
I'm sticking 49ers.
Really?
No, yeah.
I feel like it's not his time yet to implode.
Dude, 49ers are just coming in with so much swag right now.
Yeah.
That team is just cruising.
Yep. Debo Samuel is an absolute beast. All right. The next game, Rams Bucks.
Man, it's getting good, isn't it? Like, look at these matchups, man.
I know.
It's getting good. Rams, Bucks at Buccaneers. I'm gonna go Rams, man. A lot of like they're kind of coming together with like Von Miller was showing out, Odell was showing out, Ramsey's back, like Weddle is coming out of retirement to come back and play safety. I think they got a lot going, and I think with that pass rush, if they can get to Tom, they could be pretty disruptive. And also with the news with AB and all the distraction that's been going on in Tampa and Leonard Fournette, right? What's going on with him?
Yeah,
So-
that's a good point, actually. I think when I first looked at this, I was leaning Bucks, but the Rams are a star-studded team, and when those stars click, this team is
And it's
probably
so
the best
hard to
team in
repeat.
football.
It's
Yeah.
like one of the hardest thing to do is repeat a Super Bowl.
Right. And when Tom's scared, when he's got a little bit of pass rush, I think that's when he's at his worst. And I think that's what this team does well. So I think you're right. I think the Rams are
With a couple turnovers. Yep.
going to give them a game. And then you got the Bills at the Chiefs.
Bills.
Yeah, the Bills are rolling.
Yeah.
Bills are rolling. So those are your picks for this week, the divisional playoff round. And I got one more fast fact here, Dan, before we go into the Would You
Fast
Rather
fact.
before
Is
we're
this
outta
a
here.
new segment? Fast fact.
I don't know. I'm
Fast
making it
fact.
one.
Yeah.
Fast fact: Snoop Dogg, he purchased the name Snoop Dogs for a hot dog company. So potentially, he's already here. He does gin, cannabis, cookbooks. He may be doing hot dogs. So could be seeing
Okay.
that in the grocery store.
All right, I got a would you rather. Ready?
Okay.
We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it going. We did it with Dom Frederic. We're gonna do another one. Off the top of my head, would you rather? Ready? Would you rather live in a studio apartment with your current partner situation right now and family, but have your dream car? Your partner gets their dream car to go in and out of work and everything, right? Or, right? Would you rather live in a 3-bedroom house, a nice house, right? A good house, a house that you really enjoy. You get to pick it out, right? But you have to ride your bike to work every single day and you do not have a car.
Yeah, so that's an easy one for me. I have a kid, so I'm taking the bigger house. I can't do studio apartment. There's no
Where are you
shot.
taking your kid with a bike?
Oh, you could. What do you mean? You could throw one of those
right
you
now?
get a side saddle going on there. You could get one of
Negative
those
10?
little- yeah. Oh yeah. There's people biking around Chicago, man. You haven't been here in a while. People bike in the winter.
People
do
bike
it.
here, dude.
Yeah, people bike. It doesn't matter what season.
Was it that easy?
Yeah. Oh, for me, it's an easy one. But what about you?
I got to step up my game then.
Yeah.
I mean,
what about you?
I'm in San Diego. I'm already in pretty much a studio apartment. I'd go nice car, man.
All right. There it
Dream
is.
car.
Yeah. So if you got the weather on your side, I guess maybe it's a little bit different for you over there. But so that's our show today. Thanks again to our guest, Dom Frederic, for joining us today. For Dan Sloak, I'm Evan Bierman. You've been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate the show. If you can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft or Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website is domesticdraft.com. And you can watch the show on YouTube. Just search up Domestic Draft and drop us a sub. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.